Uh-oh, copyright, 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 copyright. Don't claim me, John Williams. I'm turning it off. The 4th of May, the unofficial Star Wars Day, is upon us once again. And shortly before this date came around, we realized, yeah, we could keep up with the tradition we started of making a Star Wars themed video around now. Therefore, we present to you, once again, one of our favorite Star Wars games from our youth. In the past, we already covered Star Wars Bounty Hunter for PS2 and the absolutely terrific Star Wars Republic Commando. You can find the links to these videos in the upper right corner or in the video description down below. And this time it's all about, as you've already read in the title, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, or as everyone and their dog tends to call it, Star Wars Podracer. And I was beyond shocked when I realized that Podracer isn't actually the title. Just as the name suggests, the game is all about pod racing as seen in Star Wars Episode 1, everyone's favorite movie of the official 6. The recent 3 are fanfictions. Okay, 7 was alright, I guess. While Star Wars Episode 1 is mostly seen as so-so, everyone seems to be able to agree that the racing scene is pretty cool. It's the most popular scene from the movie. By the way, it is much longer in the director's cut and way more exciting. Check it out. In contrast to the movie, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer is indeed very popular and received quite positive reviews at the time. You can see that especially when you look for the PC version at Metacritic. Many, just like me, rave about how great it was back then and how much fun they had as a child and so on. Released in 1999 for the PC, the N64, Game Boy Color, Macintosh and Dreamcast, while the PC version was released on May 18th for the American market and on June 4th for the European market, at the same time as the N64 version. Japan only got the N64 version almost 2 months later on July 21st. Pretty weird, but it gets stranger if you look at the Dreamcast version, because the American market got it on April 4th and the European market only in August. Mac and Game Boy Color got the game in December of 1999. And then there was even a big arcade machine version of this game, with full pod racer aesthetics and controls, released in 2000. Those were strange times back then, when games for different markets but for the same platform were released on different days, or different months or years even. This is one thing from the past that I don't miss, and that luckily died out in the globalized and digital market like we have today. Oh, by the way, there is an HD remake for the Switch and PS4. They added nothing new except for higher resolution and widescreen support. A shame, really. Speaking of widescreen, 1 minute please. Yes! Long live the personal computer. But now, without further ado, to the game itself. The game was created, of course, by LucasArts and therefore has the movie license, meaning we get to visit various places with characters and pod racers known from the movie. By the way, I think it's great how LucasArts always used to make unique intro sequences for their logo with every Star Wars game. These things really were fun to look at. The first race takes us to Tatooine, to the track known from the film. Subsequent races lead us to ice planets, mining colonies, and even maximum security prisons. Why there's a race in a prison, and why Anakin, a small child from the neighborhood of Mos Espa, is allowed to race there, remains a mystery to me. Each race or planet is introduced with a small render sequence. These have a very small resolution for today's standards and have aged rather poorly.
Greetings, convicts, hoodlums, ruffians, outlaws, and other treacherous scum of Uvo 4.
It's been a long time since the last race here at this maximum security facility, but time is something you've all got plenty of, right? Well, let's not detain you any longer. Here he is, the host you all know and love, I'm sure, the all-seeing, all-knowing master with a master key, Warden Fen Boda!
But nonetheless, I think it's nice that LucasArts went through the effort of presenting each track itself, fleshing out the background a tiny bit more. Expanding the universe, so to speak. Don't they, Disney? In addition to the settings such as ice, desert, sprawling urban centers and so on, The races, or the tracks, are getting harder and harder. While the first race on Tatooine is still very simple to run, later there are various routes and branches, obstacles, a flight through a tunnel without gravity, changing routes, and so on. This keeps it fresh and exciting, making revisiting planets interesting, and it took me by surprise the first time, as suddenly the route I got accustomed to changed completely, getting significantly more challenging. On the ice planet, there were two things where I scratched my head a little bit, because there are places that are slippery, and the Podracer slides over them like a car would. I don't quite understand how a hovering vehicle that doesn't touch the ground slips around on ice but not on loose sand, which is odd because I would have expected sand is the one thing that gives Anakin a hard time. There's a local champion you have to beat on each of the tracks. If you defeat him, you will get him and his Podracer into your squad, and from there on you can race with him as well. Very great. I just miss Sebulba. I know, you gotta beat the entire game to get him. But this aspect is pretty cool. You feel a bit like a racing team manager. Every race offers a chance to earn some cash, even though I thought that Republic credits are no good out here, and you need something more real. Interestingly, we can decide how the prize money will be distributed. For example, with Skilled selected, the first 4 places get money, whereas with the winner takes all, only the first place gets the entire prize money. You can really challenge yourself. Go all in. Cool idea. I'd like to see that in other racing games. Your earned credits can be used to buy upgrades for your Podracer, be it from Wattu's store, that greasy dealer guy, or his junkyard. You can also buy pit droids to repair your racer. The game doesn't really communicate their purpose that well, there's no pit stop like in Formula 1. They are there to keep your gear in good shape after the race, because yes, your equipment can take damage, and every droid can only take care of one system on your pod. And there are quite a few, so there is a whole system of assigning repair crews and maintenance. The more of these repair droids you have, the better, and the more you see when taking a look at your Podracer, because yes, you can take a look at every racer in 3D. That's pretty cool, even if the visuals are outdated. This whole shopping and upgrade system isn't very well streamlined, and the little guidebook that used to come with the original game is really something helpful. Give it a quick glance. It should really clear up most of the questions you might have. Back when I was a kid, my biggest issue was understanding the menus at all. I only had the game in English, and when I was 7 years old, my English was under all sow or pig, to translate a German saying that makes no sense to an English speaker. It was bad. The races themselves are cool, but not that challenging. It's quite easy to overtake the AI. Later on, the AI gets better or faster, but even then, they are not a real competition. It's a shame that the multiplayer only works on local area network, and split screen is only available on console versions. The opponent's AI is one of the, if not the biggest weakness, at least in my opinion, because the AI does not seem to use the boost function. When you have reached max speed and pushed the stick forward, the boost is charged. You press the X, at least on the Xbox controller, and then you start boosting at up to twice the normal maximum speed. When boosting, you have to keep an eye on the temperature. If not, the Podracer will start to overheat, burn, and subsequently explode at some point. But don't worry, even if it explodes, you hit a wall or another obstacle, you will spawn again on the track without any major disadvantage. Oh, and if you for some reason still hate little Anakin Skywalker, with the burning passion that a lot of people used to have back in the day, well, if you always wanted to see and hear little Annie die, here's your chance. You will hear him scream a lot, but remember, that way isn't the way to victory. Timing the boosts, braking and using the track to your advantage is super cool even after 20 years. And even if the game is old, they got the perception of speed transported to you really well. I mean, these pods would actually go along the tracks at speeds uncontrollable to a normal human. But this game really hits the spot. Oh, and by the way, do not be discouraged by us mentioning an Xbox controller. While a controller works great for this game, it can be played really well with a keyboard, and for the longest time, that's the way I did it, and it worked really fine. we don't have to talk much about the graphics. It hasn't aged that well. You can probably count the polygons on screen on one hand, and the textures are terrible by today's standards, and the animations as well. But you can't blame the game for that, it's over 20 years old by now, and even if I take off my nostalgia goggles, the game is still incredibly fun. Even if it's simple. And also, due to its age, even the updated Steam and GOG version, well, little bugs can appear, like the victory sequence not loading correctly. Regarding the game's sound design, my opinion is split in two. While the soundtrack is the original from Star Wars and therefore great, the voices of the characters were also recorded by the original actors, the sounds from the Podracers are incredibly boring. Sebulbus and Anakin's Podracer in particular have made a great sound impression on me. While with Sebulbus Racer you have the feeling you can hear the cylinders of an oversized diesel engine working, Anakin's Racer sounds like a Formula 1 car on steroids. I don't know if it's due to the game's age or because the game was rushed through development, it's just that in this game the machines don't sound as cool as in the movie. Oh, and before I forget it, there's one cool feature I need to mention. You can taunt your opponents at the push of a button. Cool. Every game needs that. It's like GTA 2's fart and burp button. Useless, but cool. What's there left to say? I'm a nostalgic kid coming back to the game after 20 years. I would love to see this game remade with modern graphics and sounds. Modding community, can you deliver? Even if we have a worthy remake or successor, I can wholeheartedly recommend getting the old original. It runs as smooth as a hot knife through butter, and it is always a quick fun thing to come back to every once in a while when you need a little challenge of your reflexes after a long day grinding away at work or school. And in the end I need to make an honorable mention. I briefly mentioned that there is an arcade version. And if you ever have the chance to play Star Wars Racer on one of these old arcade machines, then do it. It is absolutely awesome. This came out a few months after the PC game, and at its core it's the same game, simplified to 4 playable races with different tracks, and most notably, graphically beefed up. The arcade machine is really a blast to play with. It even has real Podracer-like controls. A rather immersive experience for such a little console thingy. If you ever get the chance, try it. If you live in Poland, there's an arcade museum in Krakow. Go check it out, I played it there, absolutely awesome. And if you don't have an old arcade museum around, go check out the PC version. You can pick up digital versions for as little as $3. So, I hope you enjoyed today's video, because if you did, I would like you to show that to us by hitting the thumbs up button, and considering subscribing to us for future content. And if you absolutely love what we do, maybe even support us on Patreon, as our supporters there got to see this video in advance. These wonderful folks are Lone Wolf, Zat Gladys, Wrapped in Glass, Cookie, Harrison Steffens, Plasma, Brass Jazz, Tome, Rainbow Flash, Grizzlyware, Strange Module, Tainzer, Cop Fighter, Inter, Charles Surrit, Albany Knight, and Sir K. To them and everyone else, thanks for watching. Hopefully, see you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day, and as always, goodbye and guten Tag, and may the Force be with you.